Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to Commute Talk. Today, Kadu writes in asking if I'm ever intimidated when contributing to open source projects, to large projects. And, if you get scared that you're going to get a bad review, that you're going to introduce regressions, break tests, break the build, stuff like that. That's a good question, because I think that's something everyone has to face when they first get into working on big projects, because big projects are like little societies almost. Like they have their own rules and heroes and outcasts and whatnot. So yeah, it's a complex ecosystem. Every big project is a complex ecosystem that you have to understand when you get close to it. So in my case, I guess I will start at the very first code base that I contributed to. That was like a large code base, was KDE. And I was too young and too inexperienced at the time to like be aware of things outside of my own head, basically. So I think that for that project, like I was just in my head. I didn't think too much about worrying that I broke something. I think there were some cases where I did break the build for someone, and they just told me, and I just fixed it, and I didn't really think more of it. But that project, it also didn't have like this big infrastructure at the time that would like name and shame you in some way if immediately when you broke something. That might be very different today. I haven't looked at it. But then when I joined the Qt team as a professional engineer, then I was at this stage in my life. I think the technical term is being a cocky little shit, and I was just a little overconfident in my abilities and in my skills and whatever. And I thought like, oh yeah, sure, like I'm not even gonna make any mistakes here, but if I do, say that I do, then you can just tell me and I'll fix it for you, don't worry. Like that was sort of my attitude when I first came to that project, the Qt. And I needed to be taken down a few pegs, and I was quickly taken down a few pegs, and I'm very thankful for that. It didn't take long at all. And I guess it was there that I first started to grow this healthy respect for working together with others, because it was the first time that I was surrounded by people who were like at my skill level or higher, and like some people a lot higher. And that was very, very healthy for me because it neutralized me. And I think that many people, or most people, go through that same thing when they first join a team of peers, because a lot of people who get good at programming or have some aptitude for it, they do well in their small town environment or whatever, and they get to be the big fish in the small pond. And then they go to the big companies and big projects and whatever, and then they're just a medium fish in a big pond together with all the other medium fish. And it's a sobering thing, and it really neutralized me and it's something that I'm very grateful for, because I learned so much from it. But it was jarring, of course. I'll admit that it was jarring. And I've had friends and coworkers who ended up leaving their jobs over the years because they wanted, like, specifically to go back to being the big fish in the small pond. And it's weird to me, but I can understand it. Like, I can understand wanting that comfort. So it is what it is. I'm glad if people do the thing that makes them happy. So that's good. I guess I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I'm making my own pond here. But I'm hoping that I won't be the biggest fish in the pond forever, because it would be nice to invite more fish, and if those fish could grow, so I don't have to be the big fish. But I don't know. We'll see where the future goes with my project. Anyways, yeah. So in the Commute project, I started developing this actual healthy respect for working together with others, and with that came a fair amount of intimidation. Honestly, like I was intimidated by my coworkers who were far better programmers than me, and I didn't want to screw up in some way that they would like over scrutinize or say like, oh, this thing here is not good, Andreas. Like that's not very good. You're not very good, are you? And I was always living with this idea that I was gonna get exposed. That's a very common trope, you know. Like so many of us, we just always running around thinking that we're one step away from being exposed for the total frauds that we are. It's like a cliche at this point. It's like really tired, but it's still reality. So should acknowledge it. So I was feeling intimidated by my coworkers, but I still try to learn from them, make the best of it. And then when I joined the WebKit project, then I think as an outsider, it might seem that a project like that has very excessive quality control checks and balances and stuff. Like, I know that some people think that, and they come there and they, you come there with a fix for something, and then you get shot down, people telling you, like, well, where's your unit test? And what's up with your spelling, and you need to explain yourself better in the changelog, and these variable names are bad, and whatever, and if I had come to WebKit as an outside person with a one-off patch that I just wanted to get landed, then I might have felt very differently about it. But I came into that project as an employee of a company at Nokia, and I was already surrounded by people in my office environment who had tremendous respect for the WebKit project and for the project development style and for the review process and everything. So me being a young, curious programmer who had been taken down a few pegs already, I was in a good place there, because I was just like ready to try to learn some new culture, like assimilate into some new culture. So I went along with my coworkers' sort of reverence for this process, I guess, and I adopted it. And WebKit is a big project, right? And it has a lot of people in it, and some people have been around for a long time. And since they've been around for a long time, then they sort of end up, I guess, I don't even know what to call it, but like there are some people in that project who have been around so long that everybody knows them. And if you get a review from someone like that, like say Darren Adler or Dave Hyatt or one of these like ancient WebKit masters, then when you get a review from those guys, then you're like, you listen, right? Because they know what's up, and if they say yes, then you feel a fair amount of confidence that you're doing something right, and if they say no, then you listen and you try to do what they tell you. So I very quickly picked up on who these people were. I mean, there are more people than that, but I don't want to start saying all the names because I'll forget someone, and it doesn't matter. But everyone who's worked on WebKit can probably agree that Darren and Dave, they know what's up. So I remember in the early days that I was working on WebKit, I was sort of I was looking up to these people, and I was actively like trying to write code that would provoke them to like come and review it, like not to irritate, but like to write something that would be interesting to them. And I remember writing it's like ASCII conversion, like converting UTF. I think it was converting Latin 1 to UTF-16 optimizations and stuff like that, because I I knew that Baron would be interested in stuff like that, and I wanted him to review my stuff so I could learn from it. And and it ended up doing that, and I got good results from that, and landed the code, and I don't know if it's still the converter in use, but it was a significant bit faster than the old one we had at the time. But this was like 10 years ago, so I don't know anymore. Anyways, but then there were also times when I was sitting around feeling anxious, just waiting for someone to review my stuff, and like if I knew that I had, sometimes I didn't write like the perfect code, and I was kind of hoping that someone would review it and not be upset at me, things like that. I guess I know what you mean, like when you're asking if I've ever worried about getting a bad review. I really did. Like I've been, rolling around in bed about it even at times. I remember worrying about these things, and like sometimes getting a bad review. Like I've got many bad reviews, and sometimes they could feel like the whole world is ending, but that was just silly. But it's, I don't know why it felt like that. I think maybe that was just me coming down a few more pegs, because WebKit and big projects like it, they're very, very good at taking you down the few pegs that you need to be taken down. If you're willing to listen at all to people outside yourself, then as a programmer, there's tremendous value in working on big projects with experts, because you can learn so much from that. That's why I'm often advocating going out and working on open source and getting feedback from experts, because you will learn more from that than tinkering by yourself, I think. Anyways, over time I got less worried about reviews, but I remember often feeling kind of annoyed that that like we had to, like you had to, there were, in the beginning I was very like happy about the whole system and the review process, and I thought it was cool, and I wanted to do it correctly, and I wanted people to like what I was doing. But then there came a phase where like, okay, now I know how to do this, and now it's starting to feel annoying instead. Like, oh, do I really have to write a unit test for this little thing? I felt like I shouldn't have to do that because it's so trivial and blah blah blah. And then it was like up and down there for a while, and it's like stupid emotional roller coaster. Sometimes caring so much about reviews, other times not caring. Then I became a reviewer myself, and one of the most strongest learning experiences from that was when I went and reviewed stuff that I didn't understand, which I shouldn't have been reviewing, and then I gave approval for some things that should not have been approved, and then someone excuse me, someone who did know the code, someone who understood what was going on there, came and second guessed my review and said, no, this is not right. Like, what are you doing reviewing this? You're not supposed to be here. That was very good. Very good for me to get told like that, because I don't know, I guess I went up a few pegs there for a while again, became a little overconfident, and it had to be taken down. I guess that for me that's been a theme. I'm losing my voice here, I'm sorry. That's been a theme in my life, that I go up a few pegs too much, and then something knocks me down, and then I go up a little bit, and then something knocks me down. And these days I'm trying to stay down from the top pegs on the pole, because I know that there's nothing good up there. But it's always good to try to remain grounded, and to accept grounding when it comes to you. I don't really know what I mean by that, but But intimidation. I think it's healthy to feel intimidated by contributing to big projects, because it just means that you have respect for the process and that you are willing to learn. Like, it means that you're giving attention, you're paying attention, right? That's why you're intimidated, because you're unsure and you're paying attention and you care what happens. This is not a terrible thing. Of course, it would be kind of bad if it stays that way as you keep doing it and as you keep doing okay with it. But like, everyone screws up in the beginning, and that's okay. Like, screwing up is part of learning. And big projects are good in that way because they often have the capacity to help people when they're learning and when they're screwing up. It can be more of a burden on smaller projects. Like, if you approach a small project and you try to contribute some code, and your code is not right at all, and you're kind of making a mess and making a lot of noise, you might be like, the relative burden that you're putting on the maintainers of that project is smaller than the relative burden you're putting on a huge project with your like, contribution in need of help. So I guess that's one of the big reasons that I do advocate for people to go out and try to work on big projects, because big projects often have the bandwidth to help beginners, like small projects less so. That's not to say that you shouldn't go in and help out or try to help out on small projects. It's just the big projects are better equipped to help you improve. In my experience, that's very often the case. Anyways, I'm getting closer to work here, and I'm not sure where to go with this anymore, so I guess I'm going to stop here. So I hope that answered some of your question, or all of it, hopefully. And I would say thank you for sending in questions. It's awesome to have questions to talk about. And thank you guys for hanging out with me on the commute. And thank you for reaching 1,000 subscribers, I guess I should say. That's a crazy number, and I don't know. I don't know, who are you people? And it's so weird to drive to work with all of you here, but it is a lot better than driving alone, I guess. So that's cool. So thanks for hanging out with me on the commute once again, and I will see you next time. Bye.